Hey guys, it's time to talk about an update on the severe weather threat today and tomorrow. We started with the Storm Prediction Center for today, April 15th. Looking at they have an enhanced risk out for portions of Nebraska and Kansas with a slight risk down into portions of Oklahoma and Texas. And then tomorrow, they have a enhanced risk out for portions of Iowa, Missouri, and Illinois with a slight risk down to Arkansas. Going straight to the simulated radar from the HRRR model. Let's time this out. I'll time this out for you guys. As we go into tonight, into the evening hours tonight, we have supercells developing across portions of western Texas. These could easily pose a very large hail threat. Maybe some tornadoes. Let's look at the environment ahead of these storms. Okay, let's look at this is western Texas tonight. We have not a whole lot of curvature in the hodograph, honestly. Some veering to the winds. It's a little bit messy. That'll help lower the tornado threat there. Helicity value is only around 100, but very strong bulk shear and very high mid-level lapse rates tells me that there could be hail threat in these. But the first thing I noticed looking at this right now is what's going on right here. We have a very strong cap in place at the 850 millibar layer where the temperatures are warming with height. So that'll be a major intrusion into getting any widespread severe weather. So widespread severe supercells development across this area. Because of that, we have a cap in place across portions of western Texas into western Oklahoma. But anyway, a few hours after that, into the near midnight hour tonight, we could have some supercells developing across Kansas and Nebraska here. These could easily pose a hail threat, maybe tornado threat out of these. Let's go to the Kansas-Nebraska border area tonight. Look at the environment here. We have strong curvature in the hodograph, veering of the winds, and the low levels. Very high helicity values over 300. Bulk shear is a bit weak, but very strong, very steep mid-level lapse rates tells me that we could have very large hail in these storms. We have very good buoyancy. And then going into the overnight hours tonight, these storms start to fall apart quickly, forming into multi-clusters and just clusters of storms. That'll really help lower the tornado threat overnight tonight across Nebraska. But as we go into tomorrow morning, we have a new line of storms, a new cluster of storms developing across Iowa into northern Missouri ahead of the cold front. But otherwise, this first line of storms will pose a hail threat. Tornado threat will be a little bit lower because of the linear setup of the storms. But overall, could usually get some embedded low-end tornadoes with such high helicity values. That's just the threat of seeing some strong tornadoes will be lower when you have a linear setup. And then tomorrow evening, across northern Iowa and central Iowa into northern Missouri, we have a secondary line of storms that starts to develop along that cold front. And that pushes to the east tomorrow evening. Easily could get a hail out of this. This is the secondary line of storms that develops right in here. Easily could get a hail, maybe some low-end tornadoes, given the high helicity values. And all that pushes to the east tomorrow night. So just a couple of parameters I want to look at. Definitely I want to show you guys the helicity values tonight and tomorrow. As we go into tonight, notice how we have very high helicity across this entire area of the Great Plains from northern Texas all the way into Nebraska and South Dakota. So any storms that do develop across this entire area will have the chance to have updraft rotation, including tornado potential. It's just that we have that cap in place across Oklahoma and Texas, so the storms will be a bit more isolated there, a bit more tougher to get storms to develop in that area there. But to the north in Kansas and Nebraska, that's where we'll have the higher tornado threat. The cap will easily be broken, and we'll have more discrete, widespread supercells that could pose a tornado threat there. And then as we go into tomorrow, especially in Iowa, notice how we have extreme values of helicity of over 400. That's the areas in purple. So easily, even with such a linear setup, when you have high helicity values like this, extreme values, you get many embedded tornadoes along that squall line, many embedded low-end tornadoes, and even into Missouri still have some decent values. So even though the values are a little bit lower in Missouri, I could still get an isolated tornado there too. And then the other thing I just want to show you guys is the significant tornado parameter. This is basically putting everything together where we have the best environment to see tornadoes. Going into tonight, we have the highest values across western Oklahoma, but with that cap in place, like I said, it'll be tough to get storms to develop in that area. Otherwise, we have some high values across portions of central Kansas and the central Nebraska. And then in the overnight hours, we have very strong values in Oklahoma still, but with that cap in place, it's going to be tough to get storms to develop in that area. And then going into tomorrow, we have the highest values here of the significant tornado parameter across eastern Iowa, where we have the high helicity values in place. And then going into along that secondary area of storms that develops, could get some more decent. We have some more decent values developing ahead of that across eastern Iowa and northeastern Missouri. So overall, I'll put all this in the video description. That's all I have for today. Basically, what I'm saying is tonight and tomorrow, the best chance of seeing tornadoes would be across portions of Nebraska and northern Kansas. I'll put a big question mark for portions of western Oklahoma and Texas because of that cap in place. And then tomorrow, the best chance to see tornadoes would be across portions of Iowa and northern Missouri, where we have those high helicity values. With the linear setup tomorrow, that would mean many low-end tornadoes possible along that squall line. And then I'm not expecting supercells tomorrow, so I'm not expecting any widespread long-track damage in tornadoes. But like I said, a lot of low-end tornadoes possible along that squall line. Otherwise, that's all I got for today. I hope everyone stays safe tonight and tomorrow. Have a good one, guys.